Well, hey guys, welcome to the studio. Today we're going to talk about the difference between what's audio and what's MIDI. And the answer is a little bit weird, but let's check it out. The funny thing is we end up kind of treating them about the same way, MIDI, audio, but they start differently. That's audio, something that you can hear, me talking, me singing, clicking sticks together. Anything that makes an actual sound that I might capture with a microphone or possibly an electric guitar plugged right straight in. Even if you own like a synthesizer and plug it straight in, that's all considered audio. MIDI is a little bit different. MIDI is a command. It's like if I hit a pad on a controller, there's no actual audio there. It's just saying, hey, do something. And I have my recording software set up to listen for these commands. And when it gets a command to say, hey, do something, if I have it set up right, it will do something. Here's some pads on a Ableton Push 2. And if I hit, and I know you just heard some sound there. Well, it was a two-step process. Let me put it another way. Okay, here's how you want to think of MIDI. This is a piece of paper. On it, I have some of the chords and some of the melody written out for a song that I happen to be working on piano. This piece of paper does not make any sound. It requires me to get on my piano, and I will take these commands that I'm taking in through my eyes and do something on the piano, and then you'll hear it. Well, MIDI works the same way. If I hit a key on my keyboard, it will send a command into my software, and the command might be something like play E flat. Well, if my software is listening to that and it gets a command to play an E flat, it will go and respond to it, and then you'll hear it. But the MIDI itself didn't have any actual sound to it. It was a lot like this piece of paper. Doesn't make any sound on its own. So let's take a look at this in the real world. I'm here in Ableton, and when I start a new project, it will offer me things like the ability to record a MIDI track or an audio track, and I have to decide, what is my source? A microphone, my electric guitar, that synthesizer over there. These are all audio, and I would select this track to record the sound that comes out of them. But what if I wanted to use a virtual drum set built into the software, or a VST, a plugin that I may have brought in from elsewhere, and I want to control it from a keyboard or from some pads? Well, that's MIDI. And this is what it might look like. You can see the meter is actually actively moving with my microphone audio signal on the track that I have designated for audio. But if I go over to record the MIDI track, hey, it doesn't know what audio is, but if I hit some pads on my controller, you'll see something that looks like audio. And that's because it's actually been applied to a drum sound. It has become audio. And the thing that made that possible was I do have a plug-in, in this case, Abbey Road drums hanging out. So when I actually hit a pad on my controller, you'll hear these sounds. If I didn't have that plug-in loaded on that channel, it would still have recorded the MIDI, but it would have appeared as silent. There was no sound for it to create. It took a command and had no way to play it. It's like me looking at this piece of paper, taking some commands, but I had my hands folded and refused to do anything. Well, these things happen. Both of these are incredibly important, and they don't really play necessarily very well with each other. So if I'm trying to convert something that started as audio, like say me playing a guitar, and I want to convert that to MIDI so then I can then put it on, like say, a synthesizer sound, it does not really translate well. It might choose the wrong note, the timing might be off, it could completely miss something, it might create a note that didn't even exist. It sort of works. And if I want to translate MIDI into audio, well, that's what plugins do. They take silent MIDI commands and apply it to a drum set. but I can change that after the fact. I might record it on a drum sound and have MIDI there, but later decide, well, I'd rather hear that on a flute. And all of a sudden I'll hear flute notes on whatever notes I played on my pad controller. So you get a lot of editing after the fact with MIDI, but they don't really convert easily from one to the other as well as we would expect. At least not both directions. And as always, we do have a channel with more advanced recording and mixing techniques. And I will usually link a video at the bottom of this video that takes you over to that channel if you want to take a deeper dive, gain some more information. And as always, we've got a lot of work to do. Let's get to it.